This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Good Friday evening, everyone. It is August 12th. I think today might be one of our 2 days we haven't hit 100-degree heat index in the last couple of weeks, and that's all because of Congress has not gone on vacation. I think they're on vacation now, so the hot air has subsided, and we've seen some nice cooling off as a result of that. So
It actually felt a little fall-like. I mean, it didn't even the humidity wasn't quite as high. So, like, I don't know if that Wednesday storm cleared things out a little bit for a few days, but
yeah, it did. But I think
it.
next Wednesday or Thursday, we're going back to going to be in the going down into the going back into the 90s, and with heat indexes probably hitting 100 again, which it is what it. I mean, it is the DMV's August. It is very typical weather for us. And it's been a busy week. By the way, the garden is doing well, but not as well as it did last year because we didn't get the nice. I mean, we had a very cool spring, if you remember, and even in June, it was not warm or hot as much as it should have been. I think July is when things kind of started turning. The end of June, early July is when things started turning the corner, and we started getting better temperatures. So my garden is still okay. It's not doing the best, but it's doing good enough. Let's see what else is. We got the Great Montgomery County Fair starts this week tonight over at the old Gaithersburg Fair.
Was today the first day?
Yeah, today's the first day. Yeah, and everyone should go out there. Have a funnel cake, have some fried pickles, and whatever fair foods they have there. I think they even have fried Kool-Aid there. I don't know if you ever had that, Don.
What?
And yeah, fried Kool-Aid. Yeah. And here's something even funnier is that we've got Governor Hogan was at the Iowa State Fair last night or earlier this week, I should say. I think he's getting ready to run for president to kind of finish the work of Spiro Agnew, who is the highest elected Maryland Republican in history as vice president to President Nixon. So
I mean, Iowa's, just like a lot of things. I mean, potential candidates will flock there. They kind of test the waters a little bit, see if their message resonates a little bit. I mean, it's obviously too early for a lot of us to jump in because you still got the Trump overhang. No one really knows for sure what he's going to do.
Oh, yeah, I think he definitely runs again, frankly, especially with the events of this past week with the raid on Mar-a-Lago. By the way, what is with Democrats abusing the wheels of justice? By the way, I have a picture of the only illegal alien that the Democrats ever forcibly removed out of the country.
Oh yeah, I know what's coming.
Alien Gonzalez. Hold on.
I know you got that sucker stored and ready to go.
Yes, I do. I mean, and here's the thing. Okay, the Branch Davidians. Not to be that guy, but the Branch Davidians. They kind of jumped the gun on that. And they did the same thing to, Eliana was forcibly moved in. They moved in the cover of darkness. It's like they're going after like John Gotti. They had to move in. It's like there's not John Gotti. It is hardly John Gotti. And they're going in and pushing, to bring, take down the president, and looks like they've got nothing. They have absolutely nothing, from what I can tell. Fox News posted they got a birthday card from someone, a letter from Kim, Little Rocket Man from North Carolina. Not from North Korea. Uh,
You said North
apologies.
Carolina.
Yeah, apologies to
That's
my
pretty
friends in
funny,
North Carolina. But North Korean, and he's a couple other notes and stuff like that. I mean, if that's really the best they've got, these guys
I
are
don't
in
know.
trouble.
I mean,
They're
one of the things that got me though is that when I heard the part that they had, they brought in someone to crack his safe, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! And there was like nothing in the safe, right?
yeah. It's like, hey, was it Geraldo Rivera's and was it like Al Capone's vault?
That's right. Yeah, you could draw some similarities of that, except you couldn't probably walk into Trump's safe as much as you could into Al Capone's vault.
Yeah. But it's just funny how the way they blew this whole thing out of proportion. You got all the lefties, So when is the Biden White House going to raid Barack Obama? He still hasn't turned over his White House papers that he took with him.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of other things that go on there. I mean, the archives did say that based on the National Archival Records Act type of thing, that they did transfer something like 30 million pages to some site or whatever near Chicago for an Obama left, but they're being managed by the archives, and that is a big difference there. But on the other hand, too, we don't know for sure. I mean, right now the initial claim is that there were 11 classified documents. The Post had reported they were looking for for some nuclear related type of things. There's now stories swirling about there's things that are saying that the warrant was issued also because of maybe Trump charging Trump with espionage, which is really getting far fetched.
They're really grasping. I'm sorry. I think they're really grasping when do they even hear themselves talk? I mean, when they say some of these things, you think it's like, you guys are totally deranged here. Espionage? I mean, come on. It's like, what next? Are you going to also charge them for bad manners?
I mean, Trump is different, but I mean, were the documents? I mean, he's claiming that they were declassified. So I mean, somebody's going to have to get to the bottom of that part of it, and figure that out. But to get to the point where you're actually raiding the residence of a former president, they normally have these negotiations about things like this. But how do you, with less than 90 days to go before an election, how can you actually stand before the public and say this was not a political stunt? This had no politics. I mean, Merrick Garland, gosh, every time I see this guy now, I'm thinking, thank you, Mitch McConnell, for blocking him to get to the Supreme Court. This would have been an utter disaster. This is this Biden administration. The media doesn't seem to care about all of these things. But you're talking. You mentioned the word deranged, and this is part of this thing. I mean, Trump's been out of office since January 17, right, or 2021 rather, right? 2021. Yep. So it's been a year and a half or whatever, and they still have this derangement syndrome about Trump. I mean, he scares the living daylights out of them, the thought that he would run again, because a rematch of Biden Trump probably favors Trump, especially based on Biden's track record to date. But the thing is that all of these things seem to lead to where the Democrats, looking at a poor November in the House, the Senate, I think that's going to be pretty tough for the Republicans to take control. But at least the House looks like it'll firmly switch over to the Republican control. And if you want to slow that down, if you want to try to mitigate the potential damage of that, you throw Trump out there, because using Trump bad, Democrats good, that's the only message that they can think of right now, right? Because they certainly can't run on a whole lot else out there.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing, it's like, I thought it was really particularly funny when Nancy Pelosi came out, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Nobody is above the law except her husband.
Yeah.
Because he carries the Demex card, the Democrat Express card.
Where did that come from? I like that card.
Yeah. He basically and every Democrat has issued one.
Is
Will
that-
Joando has one
is
too.
that a tap to pay card too? Is there,
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like when
you
you're
can put it in
when
you
you're
can put it in his Apple Wallet.
yeah. So when you're like pulled over, you can just you just put it out. The officer taps, make sure it's not a forgery, because they do care about Democrats. They wouldn't want a Republican walking around with a
Right.
Democrat.
I mean, that out of I've seen a lot of stuff you put up on this show.
Yeah.
That's got to be like at the top of the list right now. That was a
Oh
good
yeah.
one. That was definitely.
Yeah. It's like, and you know where I got the idea from, right? There was a Bob Hope special years ago where they had the Ayatollah Khomeini, and they do the little skit. He goes, "I'm table dancing and hijacking U.S. airliners." Most people don't recognize me. That's why I carried the Middle East Express card, and it was "Don't leave the Middle East without it." And actually, Saturday Night Live did the Democrat Express card too, with when Patrick Kennedy put his car in, I think it was either the reflecting pool or somewhere in the tidal basin. And, Ted Kennedy comes out, and then you have Pat Kennedy, then you have Ted Kennedy says, we at the Democrat National Committee, we issue every Democrat a Democrat Express card. Whether, like when I'm carousing at bars and so on, people don't recognize me. But when I pull it out, they just let me go on my merry way. And that is pretty much how it is. It's a two-tier system. So Nancy Pelosi, is your husband above the law? Because, if you or I got pulled over at DUI, Don, they would not have dropped the charges. We would have had to go to a bunch of other stuff would have happened too. Loss of license. I mean, I remember when Everybody Loves Raymond, when Deborah lost her, she was just driving, she was like napping while intoxicated in her car. And she lost her license for 3 months and so on. And then she got it back. She was on probation for a year. Paul Pelosi on probation for a year. And when fictional characters do more hard time than Paul Pelosi, there's something wrong with the justice system there. That San Francisco treat. I wonder if the DA has taken possession of his new Rolls-Royce Phantom yet, courtesy of the Pelosi's for not charging the husband. And it's very sketchy. It is very sketchy. And
I love this Demex card too, because I think about, if you think about the American Express card, that's a travel and spending card. I mean, it's really not a traditional, has never really been a traditional credit card.
No, it's not. No,
it's really been for those to spend on travel, and with very high, or in some cases probably unlimited, credit limits. Right? So this is a perfect microcosm of the Democrats, because I mean they're big spenders. That's all they want to do. They just want to spend. So that kind of that's a perfect metaphor for them to use that card.
Even my opponent Will Joando has a Demex card, because when he doesn't show up in court when he's supposed to show up for court, he just flashes his Demex card. He just go on his little book tour, continue his book tour while opposed to show up in court like everyone else, and not having a warrant sent out for his arrest for not showing up, for failure to appear. And it's pathetic, and the Democrat, and there's two-tier systems. I mean, let's just say David Bond, he enjoyed that graphic as well, it looks like. Here we have, you've got Democrats all, I mean, if you look at the stuff, okay, White Waters, and Webb Hubble and the Clintons. If you compare that to what Richard Nixon did, it pales in comparison. Richard Nixon was a choir boy compared to the Clintons. Did Bill Clinton have to resign? Did I miss that? No, he did not. He got to serve 2 years because and pretty much this is actually what Biden has done is not too far away from what the G-Man did with breaking a Democrat national headquarters. It's kind of like the same thing. You're breaking in to see what you do to find dirt on your opponent. And I must say, it's a sad state of affairs in America. We've turned into.
I mean, I think that if we look back at our lives and all the presidents and their cabinet, and their administration people and things like that. None of the Republican, Democrat, nobody was lily pure and really as a whole, right? I mean, all administration.
They weren't choir boys,
issue,
or choir,
right? Yeah, and I mean, that's part of human nature. Politics, will corrupt some people who had no intention of being corrupted.
Look at the great Asa Hutchinson.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things happen. But
Paul Weiser used to say there's something in the water in Washington. No matter how good of a man comes to Washington, they get corrupt and seduced.
Yeah, well, I think that goes to even the Republicans who came in, starting in '94 and saying, we're going to term limit ourselves, and then when it came time to leave, they wouldn't leave because they love, feeding at the trough was very, very intoxicating to them.
See, I've always been against term limits myself because I think it's basically puts a shackle on good people. We would have loved to have had Ronald Reagan for a third term. We would have loved to have George W. Bush for a third. God, we would have wanted him for another third term. It would have been awesome. We would have to deal with that John McCain campaign of 2008, where it's gee golly whiz, I'm so happy to be a part of this. Being the loser, going down in history as the guy that lost. It is pathetic, frankly. I think we have. I mean, we're looking a lot like a third world country. When I was 8 years old, I went to the old country and not Long Island. But one thing I noticed before you get to my granddad's ancestral home, as we'll call it, you got to go through the big city of Bombay. And there you'd have people knock on your car window asking for money. You'd see people in the bazaars in restaurant, like the bazaars, coming up and asking you for money, right? Let me tell you, 2022, I have people tap on my window when I'm on Rockville Pike asking for money. I go into the food court at Montgomery Mall. Somebody comes up to me and, oh, Don, you'll love this. I go, sorry, I don't carry cash. Oh, I've got Cash App or Zilly. You want to transfer it? I'm thinking, like, how is it that you can be homeless but have Cash App and Zilly and a smartphone at the same time? It's become, it's like a profession.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you were saying too about this two-tier system, because I think with all these administration people, whether they're cabinet level or not, there is that kind of two-tier system. I mean, if it's the scrutiny is far heavier by the media and others on those on the Republican administrations than on the Democrat administrations, right? I mean, that anything the Biden does wrong, they were trying.
Hey, Don, remember this guy? Remember him? What did he do? He removed classified documents. This guy, and I didn't. Do you remember that raid they had? The Bush administration did on his compound with Dick Cheney leading that charge, and shooting people. I don't remember that happening either. And how is that any different than these people? It's really crazy. Telling the lawyers they have to leave. I thought that was a little pale. I mean, you can't. The lawyers are allowed to be there, but I guess when you're pointing guns at them. And speaking of guns. The new 87,000 IRS agents, they're going to have guns too. 87,000.
And their targets are, they're going to look to squeeze more people and more money and everything. I don't see a lot of good coming out of that.
I think the targets are going to be. They're going to go to the FEC, find out everyone that ever donated to Donald Trump. They're going to be the first tier people they're going to attack. It's going to be go after, and then the tier 2 will be people that gave money to George W. Bush, and they'll just, this is going to be a tool to harass Republicans. And then you got Chuck Schumer. I believe it was Chuck Schumer that said this. I could be wrong, but it sounds like something Chucky would say. Chuck goes, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you worried about the IRS coming to audit you? I'm like, really? That's spoken like a true Nazi there, Chucky. It's like, oh, if you got nothing to hide, what about stop and frisk? What was wrong with stop and frisk? If you got nothing to hide, what's wrong with you being stopped and frisked, Chuck? Because I remember him being very much against stop and frisk, you know, and it's pathetic, you know. Yeah, you're right, David. They're coming after, you know, grandchildren's lemonade stands. You know, they saw that during the Obama administration. You know, with the help of the neighborhood Karens, you know, who are, by the way, 90% of Karens I know are Democrats. So, just saying. But yeah, it's pathetic what these people are doing. You know, 87,000. They want to take away our firearms, but they get the. I mean, the EPA has guns. Why does the EPA need firearms? You know, why does the IRS, these special auditors for the IRS? You know, this stuff can go bad really fast. I think. You know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So the 10% of Karens that are probably Republicans, are most of them on our Central Committee?
Yes.
I have no love lost for a lot of the members of that Central Committee.
I would say about on our Central, I'd say about 80%, maybe 90%. You know, with a few obvious exceptions, we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, there were some difficult votes, you know, when we were voting, you know, casting our ballots during the primary. I'm like, do I vote for this person? I'm not crazy about them, you know. it just, you know, some good people that should have been on, you know, didn't get elected, and other people that, you know, I have even more questions about the future of the Central Committee after this primary.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you what's going to happen. You know, it's like we're in a, I hate to say it, that we may. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but there's a good possibility after November's election we may start seeing a civil war in the Maryland GOP. Frankly.
Well, you know, that would be unfortunate. That wouldn't be surprising, but this is a long-standing problem of the Republican Party as a whole. Mm-hmm. Is that there's a lot of infighting going on. The Democrats, you know, they fight and things like that, but they
fight, but they make kiss and make up.
They do, exactly. They do kiss and make up, and they're willing to live with their different factions from the squad on up, and so they're able.
I mean, why isn't David Trone shouting and running commercials about voter fraud? How this election was stolen from him? You know, voter fraud, David Trone. I mean, miraculously, all these ballots came out from Mark Elric. Really, are you that stupid, David Trone? You know.
I did vote. David Trone. I got that email from him about, you know, do you support the Inflation Reduction Act? So I had to vote for that. reminding him that not everybody's a lemming in Montgomery County. They're not. This is not a guaranteed sweep yet for him.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I think, you know, we will have our first elected senator in a long time, about 16, 17 years, with an election of Reed Novotny in 9A, because he's got the precincts he has are precincts that the one who shall remain nameless, who ran for Senate and ran a hapless campaign for state Senate, won those. And if he could win them, you know, a slug could win those, frankly. Larry Hogan won those primaries both times, 14 and 18, and by bigger numbers. And I think, you know, so, and Reed's got a nice section in Howard County that's Republican friendly, you know. But, you know, it's, you know, it's, there's always the odd possibility that the crazies on the Democrat side come out in force in higher numbers, you know. Because I think there might be a lower Republican turnout this November. You know, at least in Montgomery County, because we really don't have too many other candidates to vote for. We have no candidates in 16 or 39 or 20. We've got no sheriff's candidate. We only have 3 out of 4 council at large candidates. So, you know, it might be a lower turnout in Montgomery County, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, they need a good turnout, but I don't know. I mean, you look at Hogan in 14, and there was a lot of Republican enthusiasm. They were able to turn over a lot of Democrats and flip them into the R side for that election. Yeah. I just, you know, I think I've said this before. I just don't see Dan Cox being able to do that. So this, even with a bad Democrat in this case, which is usually good news for Republicans, we've also got a less than stellar Republican candidate. So the Democrats are definitely sitting in the catbird seat for the gubernatorial election, and that hurts other down ballot candidates too. So if they don't have that much to vote for in Montgomery County, I mean that makes Neil's job a lot harder.
Yes, that's right. Neil's another one. I mean, it's a +4 Republican district, and all calculations, Neil should be the next congressman. I think Nicola Ambrose will beat Dutch Ruppersberger, and Eurypsie Morgan will beat John Stealth Sarbanes.
That's what I call optimism. It's the kind of optimism I like, though. I'd love to see that.
I know. We'll have 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats in Washington for the first time since 1994, 96 maybe.
If that happens, that would shake up the Democrat Party in Maryland, because they've worked really hard to try to squeeze the Republicans as much as they can, just basically giving us Harris's seat, but they keep trying to target him too. But now that there's been a lot of focus on gerrymandered districts, it's harder for them to force him out. But it gives us a chance to maybe regain some traction elsewhere.
Because, I mean, Nicholas district is a lot like the old. It's not quite the same. It's not quite as good. But it's similar to the old Helen Bentley district, or the Bob Ehrlich district he had. And that's another thing. They did redistrict Bob out of his congressional district in 2000. So 2002, he runs for governor. How'd that work out for you Democrats?
Yeah, I mean,
they did that to SCP in Prince George's County.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Nicolai or Eurypsie, I mean, they're solid people because they'll work hard on the campaign trail. They're not flamethrowers. You can't tie them directly to Trump, which would be largely unpopular in most of Maryland, except maybe on the eastern shore or the western parts. And so as a result, they stand, if they can raise the money and everything like that, why not? They can make these competitive races, and who knows?
And Nicolai's done a decent job raising money, frankly. Nicolai's done a good job raising money. Eurypsie's done a great job raising money. And here's the thing. Eurypsie and yes, Nicolai can win, David. She can win.
Remember, David, Dwight is one of the most optimistic people I've ever met in my entire life.
Hey, let me just tell you guys this. I called for the downfall of the Soviet Union in the summer of 1990. I also predicted Boris Yeltsin would be the new president of a free and open Russia, and that happened. I also said Musharraf. Actually, it was Zia, and I said he'd be deposed, and he was deposed. Musharraf, I said he'd be deposed. He's been deposed. I said somebody would probably, because there's so many terrorists in Pakistan, you'd have somebody that would kill, what's her name, Benazir Bhutto. I said, the Gandhi family were a bunch of unethical, socialist, commie-loving folks who are out for their own interest and take the country to cleaners, and that's been proven. The Gandhi family in India has been like that. I also said that. What else did I call for? I've got a list of things I predicted over the years that have actually come true. So I think I could probably qualify as a seer or a low-level prophet. I prophesized.
No, that's good.
That's one of the. What do you call? What else? I made a number of bold predictions. I said. I basically the week of the Access Hollywood interview, I said Donald Trump's going to beat Hillary Clinton. People said, "Oh, you're foolish." I even bet Quinn McCord $100 on that race, saying that Trump wins. And he won. A lot of people were betting against George Allen when he ran for U.S. Senate in 2000. I called it. George Allen was going to win. He won, and he won big. But we've got, we've had a lot of success. And here's the Republican Party, when we do have our civil wars, but we do come out better for it. If you can say, if you think about it, the worst primary season in my lifetime was Helen Bentley versus Ellen Sauerbrey. You know, uh, Helen was not the was the most gracious loser. Ellen was a very gracious winner. Ellen reached out, extended olive branch to all the Helen people to come over and work, and that's why she became governor. And then they found all these boxes of ballots, just like in Montgomery County. David Blair. This time they found in PG County, they were all for Paris Glendenning. Montgomery County, they found all these ballots, and they all happened to be for Mark Ellen. Do you think there's voter fraud in your party, David Blair? Are you now going to support ID laws and end this sham of a mail-in vote nonsense? Just saying, and
with regard to that, though, too, I mean, we've got, after the whole, Cox Schultz primary battle and everything, which Dan Cox won. What's your take on the Schultz people? I mean, are they willing to support Cox, or you got a guy like like our friend Mike Higgs, who has been very vocal in calling Cox kind of a nut job, during this whole thing. Is Mike Higgs likely to support Cox, or is this one of those things where maybe he'd vote for him, but he wouldn't publicly support him?
I don't know for Mike, but there's other people I've spoke to who they'll vote for Dan Cox. It might be hold their nose and vote for Dan Cox. This was a brutal.
I'm going to treat this like when I voted for for
John McCain.
I didn't like it, but I lived with it.
He was better than Clinton. HW. I'm assuming, right? Yeah. Or to vote for Bob Dole. Bob Dole would be very proud that we voted for him. Bob Dole is very happy that we voted for him. But I think we'll come around, But here's the thing. I'll tell you this: the Cox supporters do not have. They need to stop bashing Kelly supporters, because maybe they've stopped. I haven't paid too much attention, but they've been bashing Kelly and Kelly supporters after the primary. It's like, don't do that. Do not overplay your hand. You've got no mandate, for crying out loud.
This time you've got to unite everybody, and you can't. There's always going to be a certain segment because like Trump supporters they'll taunt the losing side. Bad move. Just don't do it. Especially in Maryland, where you can't afford to lose a single Republican vote.
Thank you.
They're precious. There aren't that many Republicans in the state of Maryland. You need every one of them to get out there and vote in order to have a legitimate shot. Because I just, Hogan had a great message in 2014, and then he coasted in 2018. I just don't see Cox. Cox doesn't have that same message, right? I mean, you're coming off a Republican administration. I mean, you can criticize Hogan, but that's a bad move in my part.
No, you need to be embracing the Hogan agenda, frankly.
Right.
Larry Hogan kept taxes down.
And focus on what the Democrats will do if they get complete power.
Yep. And here's the thing, and also, I don't even know if he's reached out to the other candidate for governor, Robin Ficker. Robin, he ran for governor. Robin is very well organized. Look at all the signs he had. Look at all the people he had walking with him in parades around the state. He needs to reach out to the Ficker voters as well as the Schultz voters. They need to reach out to them. You can't just say you guys are losers and blah blah blah. You can't, because got news for you. Dan Cox is no Donald Trump. You can't.
Yeah, you're when mentioning Robin, Robin to me can be a strategic asset to a campaign. You've got to kind of pick the places to use him in, but in certain situations, because I've always thought that he was always kind of that funny oddball candidate every time he ran for things.
They're the
But, you
guy
know,
that go to the Wizards games.
but what he did, when he had the petition drive and all these things, and you see him, with he's been trying to cut the sales
Well,
tax in Maryland
yeah.
forever, in essence,
And
since
here's something else
it
for you.
was proposed to increase. So he's got certain messages, and he's not afraid to approach people, which is really good.
Yeah.
There's the guy has no fear, which can be great for campaigns. You do have to kind of keep him in a lane.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Montgomery County, we never would have had term limits if it weren't for Robin Ficker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robin Ficker is why Hans Reamer had to go find another job because he was term limited.
And we'll say thank you, Robin. I mean, a lot of the ones who had to leave because of the term limits.
Craig Rice had to leave. Well, Craig Rice is going to have to get a real job and, pay, out in the market,
Yeah, and I expect that we'll see. Robin is never going to be done running. I think he'll find opportunities to run for something again. He's very entertaining, and he's a smart guy. And
I think Robin had a really good idea when we were talking once about changing the county charter, making our county councilmen, tying their salaries to the county executive is not paid more than the governor, and the council members are not paid more than the state senators. Also, let's change the county charter that says you can have a job and be on the council at the same time. It is a part-time job being a councilman. You don't need to be spending 100% of your time, raising taxes on taxpayers. We need a part-time, and also, and changing the county charter to say you can do that would be a great thing. Changing the council to a part-time status, reducing what they make, which is fine. I think, they could do more with less. That's what they always tell people to do, right there.
Oh, heaven forbid the Democrats ever get something by Democrats to reduce the bureaucracy. Yeesh.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the county government could be cut in half, and we would not miss half of those people. We would not miss half of those people. We would not lose one iota of service. Because have you ever gone to the tax office just to look up a tax record or anything like that? You got to take a number, then it's like you go to this one to go to that one. It's like a pain to do. It is painful. It's like going to the DMV.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I remember having to, Rockville, you go to the court and you've got certain things like to get signed off on. And you've got to go from to here to sign in or something. You got to go over there. You got to go over there. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's like all these little, fiefdoms.
Oh, it's like when we were doing my dad's, estate and all that. It's like, go to the registrar of wills. You got to meet with this guy. Oh, you got to come back at 2:00 next week. Oh, you come back then. Oh, you got to come. Oh, did we not tell you to bring this to? Oh, well, I can see you again in 2 weeks after. It's like, it is really, really obscene in how incompetent the county government really is. The other thing, what I'd like to see the county council do is move the county council meetings away from Rockville to move it to the various high schools around the county. A lot of people say one of the biggest reasons a lot of people don't like to go testify, one, parking is horrible, and you got to pay the meters at 10 o'clock. Thank you, Montgomery County Council, by forcing us to pay these meters at 10 p.m. in the evening. That's a good job helping small businesses in downtown Bethesda, Silver Spring, Kensington, Wheaton, and so on, making them pay a meter. Good job, guys. We move them to like high schools like BCC, Blair, Winston Churchill, Walter Johnson. You got these huge parking lots where people can go and not have to pay in these high inflationary times, and that, that's my piece on that. I know the county council, they can get out of their ivory tower on Rockville Pike and then go be with the people. You are for the most part of Montgomery County, unless you live in Kensington or Rockville or other municipalities, you are the closest form of government to the people. You need to be right there with the people, not hiding away in your ivory towers, frankly. I think that would be good. And by the way, Don, hypothetically, let's say you were in debt $20,000 last month, right? And then this month you find out you're still only in debt $20,000. Is that a victory of any sort? The inflation rate for June was 9.1%. Inflation rate for July was 9.1%. I know a lot of people are ballyhooing the other number, which is about consumer prices. And that's actually went up because if inflation went down even to 9%, the Biden administration would be like doing cartwheels on the White House lawn, saying inflation's coming down, opposed to playing these little games. It's at 0%. Yeah, but it's still not. It's like you're still at 9.1%. And but price of gas in Montgomery County still is over $4. And even $3 is too high for the price of gas. Frankly.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so I'm at the gym yesterday, and CNN's up there on one of the televisions, and they were doing a little segment on gas prices because I think they've now been coming down for 59 or 60 straight days or something like that, right? So, so they do this segment, and they're looking, talking about how the gas price has fallen, and they have this graphic showing how much money the average person is saving per car from these falling prices, right? And they're like, if you got 2 cars, you're saving this much money, and I'm like, but it's still like higher than it was a year ago. So what how can you say it's savings when it's still higher than it was a year ago?
Well, see, that's new math.
That's right.
It's not even old math. It's not new math. It's new math. Where just because
who believes Joe Biden and the Democrats when they say we basically had 0% inflation now, after all of this because of the the falling energy prices and everything like this, and grocery prices the highest they've been in like 42 years or something like that.
And by the way, Don, shelves. This is what the freezer section still looks like, and this is from not too horribly long ago. Over at this is what they still look like this, and I was at the Giant over on Old Georgetown, and there was a sign there saying, due to getting products, some stuff is, we don't have everything we normally would have. Please be patient. Safeway had a sign, that the price of eggs and milk and butter have gone up. That is why prices are higher, and
eggs have gone up 38% in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, when about 2 weeks ago was National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, and I did my chocolate chip cookie recipe. That would have cost me about $5 to make 2 dozen cookies. It cost $9.72. I know the typical Democrat bureaucrat, who works for the federal government. Oh, $9.70. That's not a lot of money. That's just me going to Starbucks twice, and I got to take more money out because 2 days at 2 coffees at Starbucks is more than $10. That's their mentality. But $9.72 is real money. You tell that to the working mother, a single mom. You tell that $9.72 is not a lot of money to people that are just barely making ends meet. And then all of a sudden, you've got these bureaucrats saying, "Oh, it's only $10," or "Oh, we haven't seen inflation is down," and stuff. It's like, no, inflation is not at 0%; it's at 9.1%. We're still in this mess. We're still going to be in this mess next month. Because the prices on the shelves are up. We're not finding stuff. And that's the other thing about my 1980 trip to the old country. You'd have the money to buy what you want, but you can't buy it because the shelves are empty at the stores, and that is what it's looking like here. You have the money to buy what you want, but you can't find it if you're blessed. And then sometimes you find the stuff, but you can't afford to buy it because it's like a pound of butter is almost $5 or something like that now. Even Costco's, you get the 4 packs of butter. Used to be like $8.99 or $7.99, something like that for their unsalted butter. Now that's also like $14 and change, for 4 pounds of butter. And that's a bargain at Costco's. You buy your butter at Giant or Safeway, you're paying a lot more than that per pound of butter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, with inflation just kind of raging on, I mean, a place
By the way,
like
Costco, think about
place like
sponsoring our
Costco,
show.
if you've got the ability to store the bulk items, the way they sell these things, at least you can somewhat mitigate the inflation effect.
Yeah.
But no one is immune from it. I mean, Costco has to raise their prices
Yeah.
to keep up with everything that's going on there. It's it's a very tough kind of a thing. Craig's posted up here about this lactate ice cream at Giant, right? So my question, Craig, is that are they manufacturing it still? I mean, can are the other giants still doing it? Because one of the things that's happened during this pandemic type of thing result
Yeah.
is that a lot of products were stopped manufacturing. We talk about I was looking at this article about McDonald's, and I don't pay attention to the McDonald's menu that much, but I didn't really realize that they had pretty much done away with their salads, and so there were a bunch of salad supporters that were unhappy. They got rid of their parfaits. I didn't know that. I wasn't buying their parfaits, but there's stuff like that.
You're gonna have a ride on their hands and they get rid of their Shamrock shakes, by the way.
Yeah.
If we don't see a Shamrock shake,
the Shamrock shake has survived the pandemic, but apparently the salads have not. Okay, so good. This is a problem with supply chain, is that we no longer know what you're going to find in some of these things. I can't imagine. I mean, on the lactate stuff, it's probably got a relatively small market. So a guy like Craig is going to know, because that's the market. That's something he wants and he needs.
Yep.
So he's going to be on top of that. For me, the average consumer like that, I'm not buying ice cream, and I'm certainly not so I'm not really looking, but stuff has disappeared, right? I mean, I was reading a story about the grocery stores, and there's some smaller grocery store. I can't remember where it was exactly, but I don't know. It's a small chain of stores, and they're constantly fighting, the inflation effect.
$6.99.
Yeah,
$6.99 for one pack, and this is a pack that I would buy 2 years ago, even a year ago, for less than $3.
That's the kind of stuff I buy at Costco or Sam's Club in bulk.
Costco doesn't sell Chips Ahoy though.
Yeah, but at Sam's Club might.
See, I don't go to Sam's. One, because I'm not a member, and
I will say this about Sam's. Sam's is Costco is far superior to Sam's Club, but Sam's Club, the one advantage they have is that they do cater a lot to the food service people. So a lot of those food trucks and all kinds of things like that, little businesses. I mean, even the people who run the Amish markets, they go to Sam's Club to buy stuff in bulk, because you can get in there at 8:00 if you've got the Plus membership, and they have,
Oh, wait a minute. The Plus membership gets you in earlier?
Plus membership gets you in at 8:00 at Sam's Club.
Ooh. Oh, it's Sam's. I thought it was Costco.
Yeah. Costco doesn't need to do that, so they don't. But it's an advantage for those that are running food businesses, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get in there early, and you can go in there right at 8:00, go in there, know what you're getting, and get out of there in half an hour or whatever it is, and then you're done. And so you can you don't skip a beat with your business. So they're very good for that. I mean, Costco is definitely more consumer oriented than Sam's in that sense, but you never know what you're going to find.
But I tell you one thing, I hope that I saw the article you posted, the samples are coming back. I don't like the samples. I tell you why I don't like the samples.
I don't eat all the samples.
No, they cause a traffic jam, like a Costco's, like the freezer. Every moron is there trying to get us. It's you're getting one. See, I don't like getting samples because I feel guilty, and I feel, well, I'm taking a sample, I should buy this. And so I end up I remember that's how I discovered spinach raviolis and the spinach pies, because they had those as a sample. I go, and it was like, "Did you like?" Oh yeah. She goes, I go, oh, okay, I'll just go over and get them. Oh, she goes, oh no, I got them right here. So she hands it, and they're good, but I don't like the samples. It just causes.
So my grandchildren love it, particularly my 4-year-old granddaughter. And last October, when I went through the Costco and they were bringing them back, we went to one, and it was some I think it was a vegetable muffin, right? you know, something like that type of thing like that. She took a bite of that and rejected the whole thing because she's like, it had vegetables in it. I don't like vegetables. So, you know, when we go to Costco, I mean, and we were there a few times when we were visiting, you know, with the new baby and everything like that, we would take the kids over there. And if we do the sample run, you know, if I was with her and I saw something that had vegetables, we just skip that whole thing altogether. You have a point about the thing is that there is a mentality, right, with with people at Costco.
Yeah.
Is that they want it, they're moochers and they'll try every sample. I mean, I was at Costco today looking for something, and I wasn't even thinking about the samples, but I'm like, I'm a little picky. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll eat that. I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to bother, you know, and stuff like that. But I think during the weekdays, the samples are, you know, it's not as jammed up on the weekends. It's crazy, you know, because they just have higher traffic on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's like I wouldn't even bother. I mean, the poor sample people are, you know, they're just trying to keep the samples going, you know. If you're at the Costco in Evansville, Indiana, where my daughter lives, it's almost like a ghost town in that Costco. It's like you own the place when you go there just about any time.
Well, I think the Costco's in Melbourne is like they just opened up about 4 or 5 months ago. It's not that bad. I was there on a Saturday. I got in and out.
I think Costco has a long-term thing. I mean, they didn't spend all that money to build the store in Evansville, you know, thinking that, you know, it was going to be kind of below par in terms of traffic they may be doing fine.
It's
overall.
like the Field of Dreams, Don. You build it, they will come.
Yeah, but Sam's Club, I think, from a foot traffic standpoint, you know, which has been there longer in Evansville, still beating the pants off of Costco, which really shocks me. But I think it has a lot to do with people have been used to shopping at Sam's for a long time, and my daughter prefers Sam's Club because she doesn't because she does pickup. They have a great pickup operation in Evansville. They've got the side of the building kind of just out. There's the tire section, you know, the garage over there. But on the same side, they actually have a canopy and a parking area, and you can come and pull up. And they have a huge caged off area near the front, and they have doors, and when people pull up and they tell them they're here, these workers are pushing the carts out right to the cars. So my daughter, with all those kids of hers, never has to leave the car. She just has already paid for her order. They just put it in a van, and off she goes. And you can't do that at Costco. That's probably maybe the one thing there. But you know, I don't know how you do that. You know, with the average Costco, with all the foot traffic they get, with all the parking. I don't know how the Costco would ever adapt to that kind of a thing. That's why they said, you know, you want to order from Costco, use Instacart. Oh yeah. So for Craig on this thing, the inside information, at least from my daughter's perspective, is that you have to understand that part of Evansville. There's a lot of parts of Evansville that are definitely sketchy, and they have a crime problem, and they have a drug problem in parts of Evansville. And you know, my daughter's belief is that, you know, it could have easily been a meth lab. You know, is it natural gas? That's a possibility. But she's also kind of leery about whether or not this was not drug.
And we know meth labs do blow up because we have some friends that we know, Don, that live in Howard County, who were forced out of their apartments because a meth lab below them blew up.
Well, that explosion, I mean, it blew up the house and it damaged like 39 other homes. You know, it's like this was a powerful explosion. Now the homes are clustered together. You know, they're small homes, but man.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember back in the days when you go down Utah Street? I think it's Utah Avenue or whatever. It runs into Nebraska. So when you take Rock Creek, you cut across, and there was a house there that blew up right at Nebraska. It was a nice house, and they rebuilt it ever since then. But when that thing blew up, that was a gas explosion, but nothing else around it was touched. Was kind of a little surprising.
I will say that, I mean, you know, we've got with gas and electric in this house, and that's always that little extra fear of mine. It's just that having natural gas to your house, there is a little bit of a risk, right?
Yeah, but here it's better than
But
electric.
But it's pretty small.
Yeah, and I think it's just way better than electric. I think
Well, look,
like
who wants? I mean, do you cook on gas or you cook on electric? Which is superior? Gas, by
yes,
far.
but yeah, and here's the thing. Also, gas hot water, it trickles from hot to warm. It doesn't go cold like that. Like electric will go switch from hot to cold right away.
Yeah.
And
Of
also
course,
electric.
all that gas cooking it's under fire from the
Oh
environmentalists,
yeah.
right? They think that's bad. They're worried about about the CO2, all this kind of stuff. They're like, oh my gosh, so we have, they want restaurants, they want to regulate it so the restaurants will have to switch over to electric ovens, ranges and stuff like that. That is a disaster. I mean,
As one who's got electric, my kitchen, my range is electric, right? And I grew up with electric. We've always had electric. And I think a gas. If we had to learn to cook on gas, it'd be a little trickier. But I'm sure we could figure it out. But electricity is electricity. I'm not a gourmet chef yet. But it's it is what do you call well you can cook just as easy. I know gas is better for baking, they say. Like they say pizza in a gas oven is better than a pizza in an electric oven, but I don't know. And it's been yeah. And by the way, did you hear the reports? Salman Rushdie got stabbed today, or was it yesterday? Did you hear about that?
Attacked, right? Was it in New York?
Yeah, in New York, he got stabbed. It's like I guess the fatwa is still out on him.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Ayatollah
that's amazing. I mean, people are still going after this guy.
The Ayatollah is dead, but the fatwa lives on. I know.
And a lot of other people are like, "Who the heck was this guy?"
Mm-hmm. It's it's crazy. It's like there was an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer thought he saw Salman Rushdie in the steam room at his gym. But it was just crazy. Also, we're coming up on final thoughts, Don.
Yep.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, got a few things to think about. One, monkeypox. So, this has turned into some crisis, here in the States as far as the government is concerned. But what tends to be left out of this equation is that a lot of this stuff is emanated, from gay sex, which they don't want to mention that because that would give the whole, those that are practicing gay sex a bad name probably. So, this is something. But it's interesting that this also emanates from smallpox, right? So for those that have been vaccinated against smallpox, you're good. But smallpox was basically declared eradicated back, about 50 years ago or so. So there's no vaccine being given for that. So anybody under the age of around 50 or basically has not had a smallpox vaccine and is susceptible to this. So I was reading it. The smallpox vaccine was one of the most effective vaccines we have ever had. And now they're struggling to try to get things going again here like this. So that's one thing. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation or disinformation, lack of information as to what's going on there. It's a problem, but it's a problem that emanated from a certain sector of the population that is spreading this thing, and that you or I, Dwight, are generally not going to be in danger of this.
Yes, absolutely. But monkeypox is the new big bad for this season. It's kind of like how the Flash every season there's a new big bad. This year, the new big bad is monkeypox.
Right. CDC dropping all their social distancing guidelines and a bunch of other things. It's like, well, it's about time. They're talking about it's good that the schools will be back in person. They won't have to do all this stuff. It's like, this is way overdue. You and I both know it. Our viewers, listeners know it's been long overdue. This is just, they're doing it, but it doesn't really have much effect, except that they should have done it a long time ago, as they have scared the country into all these crazy things that we've had to deal with for the last year and a half. So I'm glad that they've done it, but the Faucis and Birxes of the world, shame on you for all the stuff that you foisted upon us and the way you made us alter our lives. Big primary coming up for Liz Cheney. This is her last stand. Looks like she's going to get slaughtered. Good.
Yeah, Vice President Cheney is doing national commercials for. I've seen him twice on Fox and Friends in the morning. Saw one yesterday. I saw one again this morning of him talking about him and Lynn are voting for. I mean, she's your daughter. I should hope you'll vote for her.
That's right. But yeah, this is just. I'm sorry. I'm not kind of like that. You have to go and you've got to go and bash and run everybody out of town that voted for Trump's impeachment. But most of those people have either left Congress or lost their races. So I think the vote, voters have expressed their opinion there. But people like Cheney and Kinzinger who joined this show trial, January 6th commission, and allegedly are there because it's the principle of the thing. I'm sorry, I thought Liz. I used to be a Liz Cheney fan. I thought she was going to be good for Congress in Wyoming, but I'm sorry, I've lost all respect for her. So when she loses,
she probably would have been the next senator from Wyoming too.
I mean, she could have been. I mean, she had name recognition.
She was in leadership. She was going to be the year we had COVID, we had to cancel, but she was supposed to be the red, white, and blue dinner speaker that year. How times have changed.
I guess they dodged a bullet.
Yeah, no, it's like, although if you recall, the first recipient of the Reagan Award at ACU, or I don't know if it was the first one, but I think he may have been the first one of the Reagan Award at ACU CPAC. I think the first shit they did it was 98. You know who that was? John McCain. John McCain won the Reagan Award. And he was still a troublemaker back then in 1998. He still wanted campaign finance reform and so on, Mr. Keating 5. But yeah.
You'll never forget the Keating 5, will you, Dwight?
I will not. Here's the thing, the way I look at it. The Democrats keep throwing Watergate and Iran-Contra in my face. You guys have your own scandals. They throw Teapot Dome in my face and stuff like that. It's like, what about this little thing you guys had called Abscam? That's another one. That's one of their mess. The Keating 5.
I almost mentioned that.
Abscam, yeah.
I came that close.
John Murtha, who could forget, FDR's basis for destroyers controversy with the British Empire, So yeah, it's nice to have a long memory, After all,
and then
50 years.
Yeah, my only thing is more of a question for you, Dwight, because you happen to mention the old country, you happen to mention Bombay, and it brought to mind the story.
I'm very proud of our viewers that nobody corrected that and said it's Bombay now. I have been corrected by people. Is it Bombay?
Yeah, so that fits into what I was going to ask you. So I remember for a long time there was a store in the mall store called the Bombay store, right?
Yeah, the Bombay Company.
Bombay Company, right? So if they are around today, would they have had to rename themselves?
Maybe, depending on how woke Americans would be about that. Would they be outraged? But it was Bombay for a long time. Just because they want to create jobs for map makers, they renamed these cities, from Bombay to Bombay as a result. And Bombay sounds like Mombi, who was the villain in The Return to Oz. Mombi was a wizard or evil wizard or something like that. I forget what he turned inanimate objects into real. Like he turned a turkey blimp into something. Yeah.
All right. So Craig's asked a question here, which we have to refer to our Indian expert here.
Okay. let's see. I have no idea. I think it was basically just to create jobs, kind of like when New Jersey, you're not allowed to pump gas. That's a jobs program. Maybe it was a jobs program for everyone who makes maps and books and so on. So they have to go back and reprint the maps. So they say Bombay, change the signs at the airport. Say welcome to Bombay to welcome to Bombay. You know.
So here's my guess as to why, because it wasn't the only city that they changed, right?
Yeah.
I think there may be part of that whole wokey, political.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. That all of these things, the British Empire kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of all those old names that you could still maybe associate with the old British Empire in the sense, and just create your own identity, right?
Yet they partied like it was 1999.
China, I mean, Russia, I mean, they've done that. I mean, they're names of cities that have changed, right? Yeah. And you're like, what the heck? We always knew it as this, and now it's supposed to be this, So
Craig, Burma will always be Burma. I am not going to refer to that.
Exactly.
The tyrants of which I thought we weren't going to recognize them. Well, I noticed our State Department now refers to Myanmar. Myanmar, I should say. Myanmar is a place in San Diego.
But, yeah, I mean that's a whole nother discussion. But I mean, yeah, you're right, Craig. You're right. I mean, it's like, yeah, for me, those are the things. I mean,
I think
for people our general age, it's like, I don't care. You can say Mumbai, whatever, but I'm going to always say Bombay.
Well, you pronounce it better than I do.
Right. Ivory Coast, right. When anybody who says, when everybody try to say the whole Côte d'Ivoire, or it's just like, sorry, Ivory Coast, okay? It's like, people know Ivory Coast. If you try to do it the French way, there's some people like, what the heck is that?
And remember the British Honduras?
Oh yeah,
it's now
yeah.
Belize.
I mean, right.
It's now Belize. The only English speaking,
Rhodesia's gone, right?
Wow, Craig, you know all this stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's just, yeah.
Are the Turks?
It is a great thing for map makers. So yeah.
Are the Turks going to rename Istanbul to Constantinople again? It's funny. I was talking to some of my Greek friends. They go, "Yeah, we still call it Constantinople. They don't refer to it as Istanbul."
They're just gonna rename it after Erdogan. I mean, he's right.
Here's the thing. Okay, I know the young woke Indians are all about renaming, scrubbing the history of the Queen of the British Empire, but yet the Queen's Jubilee, they threw parties like it was 1999 celebrating the Queen's Jubilee. You can't hate the Empire that much. Don't party that hardy and say you hate the Empire when you really do like the Empire. They threw I think Queen Victoria, I think, what did she turn? A few years ago, I think she turned 200 or something like that. They did a big party for Queen Victoria in Victoria Park. Victoria train station is still called Victoria Station,
They haven't wiped out everything, all the vestiges of British imperialism.
It's like, do you really? I mean, are you going to wipe out the railroads too? Because the British put the railroad. Are you going to take the railroads out? Take the railroads out and take out the canals and
and all of this stuff, right? I mean, this is so silly. It's like as if changing the name of a city wipes away its history.
I mean, to quote, Deep Space Nine, as the British rule in India, as Quark said, when the founders took over Deep Space Nine, he goes, as an occupational force, it's not so bad, And look at I remember I asked people about this, because there's people that have been around in my family that were there when the Empire was ruling and the Empire left. And most of them will say, for the average Indian, life did not change one bit from August 14, 13, something like that, to August 15, 16, 15, something like that. Life did not change that much. All that happened was the names on the doors all got changed. The viceroy was replaced by Nehru, who was a socialist and a communist sympathizer. And that's what happened. That's all that happened. I mean, the people were they still had they still had the same troubles ruling as the British did. Frankly. And by the way, one little thing that people seem to forget. You need to thank the Americans for the end of the empire. By the way, for people who call Americans Yankee imperialists, colonists, you know, one of the stipulations in getting money from the Marshall Plan was they had to dismantle their colonial outposts. The colonies had to go. That's how they got money from the Marshall Plan. So everyone, thank America for their independence around the world.
All right. So then, the final thing I'll say is that I stumbled across a new thing that popped up on Netflix yesterday called
Mhm.
Wedding Season, and that was it was really funny because I love these shows. I mean, it was very pretty lighthearted, but it was all about Indian culture and weddings, and it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. There probably are some stereotypes in there, but I love those just as much as I love the stuff that they do on with K dramas and stuff like that. And you see a lot of stereotypes of Koreans, and I think there's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So good entertainment, and I actually
Yeah.
recognized one of the actors.
Hey, have you guys actually ever watched Young Gary? It was Korea's answer to Godzilla. Young Gary was a lizard just like Godzilla, but he had a horn on his nose and he breathed fire. And you could actually see the gas jet in his mouth when they did the shot, which is funny. But yeah, Young Gary. You guys should watch it sometimes.
All
It's
right,
on every now and then.
now it's over to you, Dwight, to wrap it all up.
Yes, my final thoughts. A couple things. One, this is for all the Democrats that are watching. Don't forget to put in your new Demex card in your iPhone wallet, because I'd hate to see you guys get pulled over without your Demex card. You might go to jail. That's what happened to some Democrats, that get pulled over when they don't have their Demex card with them. They go to jail. They don't know that they're Democrats. They don't know they're above the law. So. And I think maybe next week we'll start, or in September we'll start doing the Dr. Politics commentaries, where we'll rotate every week. We all get to do a commentary on any issue we want instead of doing in addition to the final thoughts. We ended a little bit earlier, and then we do the final thoughts, and we go to the cut down commentary from somebody, and it could be one of our viewers could even record a commentary and send it to us, and we'll play it. So however we want to do it, so that's something coming up in September. The Dr. Politics commentaries. If you have something to say, you can be the crank if you want. You could do whatever you want. Whatever you want within reason. We do have to approve your commentaries. We're not going to let you go on a profanity or racist rant on our show, frankly. But you can give us your commentary, and we'll have a good shot of getting it up there, especially as you did in the early times before we started getting bombarded by commentaries from people. My other final thought is it is July. We got the July inflation numbers. Inflation is still at 9.1%. We're still paying more at grocery stores. We're still seeing empty shelves. We still have a baby formula crisis. And these have all been brought to you by failed Democrat policies like Joe Biden, Mark Elrick, Will Jowando, and every other Democrat elected up and down the board. Only a handful of Democrats worth praising are Joe Lieberman, Scoop Jackson, Pat Moynihan. In Maryland, I can praise William Donald Schaefer, Harry Hughes, Marvin Mandel, Sid Kramer. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and sometimes Doug Duncan. We can throw him in as one of the good Democrats. But yeah, that's about it. And there's the Demex card again.
A great graphic.
But I think we should actually give out these Demex cards to our friends and members. Let us know in the comments if you want us to create a way for you to print out your own Demex card. We could have some of our cracked programmers come up with a way you can just put in your name, and information. You can print out your own Demex card on your printer to keep with you just for when you go around town and getting pulled over for DUI and they don't always know who you are. You pull it out, Just kidding. You shouldn't be driving around while you're intoxicated, frankly. Also, we are a couple weeks into 50 now. I'm enjoying 50. It's a lot of fun, I've been told by a few people, stop saying that you can speak your mind and take off all the filters because I'm not that old anymore. So I say, yes, I am, By the way, Don, I have not gotten any AARP mailings at all. Maybe AARP doesn't want me.
Yeah, I don't get that many of those.
Because they used to, I remember years ago, people used to always talk about they started getting them around 49. They started getting those ARP invites to join. And they would automatically make you a member when you turn 50 or something like that. And the other last final thought, Baltimore Orioles, 3rd place. The Nationals, last place. I should say the Washington Nationals / Montreal Expos, last place. Orioles, 3rd place. And that's a wrap for today. See everyone next week when we will have a full complement of doctors. Dr. Jeff will be back from his long road trips. Good night, everyone. And don't forget to vote Republican this November. Bye.
See ya.